Have you ever played a video game which is so broken, so full of glitches and errors, that it needs to be constantly updated to keep people from jumping ship? Well, the Watchtower religion is like that video game, but instead of glitches, they have the silliest of prohibitions. No birthday parties, no blood transfusions, no Christmas, you know the main ones by now. But being a Jehovah's Witness involves avoiding rituals which to anyone else would seem completely harmless, and something that you were fully expected to avoid as a faithful servant of Jehovah was participating in toasts. I'm dead serious. Yes, boys and girls, when I was a Jehovah's Witness, I avoided clinking glasses because Jehovah did not like it. There are several Watchtower and the Wake articles that this religion released over the years, which try to justify the refusal to participate in toasts. For example, in this 2007 Watchtower, we get a question from readers. The Bible does not mention toasting, so why do Jehovah's Witnesses avoid sharing in toasts? Great question. Here is the Watchtower's answer. Toasting with a glass of wine or another alcoholic beverage is a long-standing and widespread practice, though details may differ from place to place. For many, this seems a harmless custom or social grace, but there are good reasons why Jehovah's Witnesses do not share in toasting. Watchtower then quotes from this handbook, which explains that toasting started off as a religious ritual, as a sort of libation to the gods, therefore it has pagan roots. Now take a look at what they said here. Granted, the fact that an object, a design, or a practice has roots or parallels in ancient false religion does not always grow such out of a true worshipper. Many people today who share in toasts may not think that they are requesting response or blessing from some god, but neither can they explain why they lift their wine glasses heavenward. Toasting today may not be viewed by many as a religious gesture. Still, there are valid reasons why Christians do not share in toasting, which has a religious background and even now can be viewed as asking heaven for a blessing, as if seeking aid from a supernatural force. As you can see, this was a very clear-cut prohibition. Watchtower acknowledged even back then that if a custom has roots in pagan origins, that doesn't always disqualify a Christian from participating in it. But they still decided to ban the practice of toasting. Jehovah's Witnesses did not toast. Well, until last week that is, because the new governing body update takes a complete 180 turn with regards to toasting, and I'm here to tell you why that's actually a really big deal. So grab your champagne, boys and girls, or your beer or your coffee mugs, and let's dive right into governing body update number 4 with our favorite cult leader, Stephen Lett, who's now sporting a new pair of glasses, which makes him look even more cartoony somehow.
Welcome, dear brothers and sisters, to our program. Today, we'll consider how we can use Bible principles to make good decisions. Let's discuss how we as Christians can make wise decisions using Bible principles rather than relying on a list of rules. Consider this simple illustration. As children, our parents gave us rules to keep us safe. They likely said, "Always hold my hand when crossing the street." Our parents made that rule to protect us from real danger. But as we got older, we no longer needed to hold Mom or Dad's hand. After all, it would seem odd if a healthy 30-year-old man still needed to hold his mother's hand to cross the street.
Yet that's exactly what your followers do when it comes to taking decisions in this religion. They have to wait until their mother organization gives them permission to grow a beard, or say hello to a disfellowship person, or wear dress pants to the meetings. I mean, the level of infantilization in this religion is actually insane.
Likewise, mature Christians don't need a rule for every situation. Instead, we look at each situation and consider Bible principles. If no Bible law is directly involved, then we use our Bible-trained conscience to make a good decision.
Now that line is gonna be key for the rest of the video. if no Bible laws are involved, we use our Bible-trained conscience to make good decisions. Remember that, okay? It's gonna be important. Now, this may seem like a very balanced take, like Jehovah's Witnesses are free to make their own decisions now, but this is just like an illusion of free will. Because who gets to decide when exactly a Bible law is involved? The governing body. And who gets to decide what constitutes a good decision? You guessed it, the governing body.
Good answer.
Stephen then mentioned several symbols that had pagan origins, but that Jehovah's Witnesses have always been allowed to use, like the heart, pomegranate, wedding rings, and even covering your mouth while yawning. Which just goes to show you how arbitrary the prohibition on toasting actually was.
Here are 3 basic principles to consider. Number 1, would Jehovah be offended by this? Jehovah.
It's okay.
Jehovah. At the same time, as mature Christians, we respect the right that others have to make their own decisions based on their Bible-trained conscience. Some of these customs may have had false religious origins, yet the article noted, over the years, however, the religious associations have faded, and today these practices and customs have no religious significance. Then it asked, so what should a Christian primarily be concerned about? Although there may be reason to examine the origin of a particular custom, in some cases, it is more important to consider what the custom means to people at the time and in the place where one now lives.
Seems pretty reasonable to me, right? This article was released 25 years ago, but it seems that the governing body forgot to read it because they still prohibit a bunch of customs that had already lost any religious connotation.
An example that illustrates the importance of timing is string lights. Many Bethelites here at Warwick enjoy putting white string lights on their balconies as decorations, except during November and December. Why not then? Because in this region of the world, string lights are closely associated with Christmas, a false religious holiday. So our Bethel family avoids even the appearance of participating in that false religious celebration.
The ironic part of this update is that Stephen Lett just inadvertently introduced a new rule: no hanging string lights during November and December. We wouldn't want the worldly people to see them and think we're celebrating the birth of Jesus or something. So many silly rules, man. Okay, but here comes the big announcement.
Another example is toasting or clinking glasses. For years, Jehovah's Witnesses have avoided this practice because it may have had origins in false religion.
Excuse me? It may have had origins in false religion? No, Stephen, the Watchtower affirmed with complete certainty that toasting has origins in false religion. So pay close attention to the language that this weasel uses because the gaslighting is crazy.
However, now, in most places, toasting or clinking glasses no longer has any religious association. It is viewed simply as a friendly custom.
Yeah, and you have known this for decades now, and you still decided to ban it.
Therefore, after prayerful consideration, the governing body has concluded that there is no need to make a rule regarding toasting and clinking glasses. Each Christian should use the principles that we have discussed in this update and his own Bible-trained conscience to make a good decision.
You know, I love how they didn't use the line, the governing body has decided, which they used when they lifted the prohibition on beards a couple of months ago.
The governing body has decided. The governing body has decided that sisters may choose to wear slacks. However, the governing body has decided. The governing body has decided.
Now he said, the governing body has concluded, which sounds a little less authoritarian. The governing body has concluded that there is no need to make a rule regarding toasting and clinking glasses. Notice how he also says there is no need to make a rule.
That there is no need to make a rule.
This makes it sound like there was never a rule in the first place and they're just abstaining from making one right now, which is totally false. The rule was published in the Watchtower magazine, and every Jehovah's Witness around the world knew that toasting was prohibited. So the governing body is not just abstaining from making new rules, no, they are lifting existing rules. It's a complete 180 on this particular doctrine. You know, I'm going to sound like a broken record here, but I must repeat, you have known of these Bible principles for decades, so why the changes now?
What does this mean?
That the governing body has always been full of shit?
Are we saying that toasting is okay now? At all times? And in every situation? Of course not. We are simply saying that there is no need to make a rule. Each Christian will need to use Bible principles to make a good decision in each instance. Since there are so many different situations that could arise in the 240 lands where Jehovah's people serve, what a blessing that Jehovah has given us these Bible principles.
Wow, there's just so much to unpack here. This is not just about toasting, guys. And if the governing body and the rank and file JW actually starts taking these principles seriously, the implications are huge. Stephen Lett just confirmed that the pagan origin of a custom doesn't actually matter. What matters is how the custom is viewed today. Wow, I know, what a novel idea, right? If the custom has lost its religious significance and is not viewed negatively today, then it's fair game. The next logical step then, as many have already pointed out, is to ask ourselves, what about birthdays? For decades, Jehovah's Witnesses have avoided celebrating birthdays on the pretense that they have pagan origins. We all grew up with this illustration of the candy in the gutter. If you were raised a Jehovah's Witness or study with Jehovah's Witnesses, you're gonna recognize it immediately. It comes from the Bible Teach Book, and this served as a justification for banning holidays. The illustration went something like this. If you found a lollipop in the gutter, you wouldn't eat it, right? Even if you cleaned it with a lot of water, because you know where it comes from. You know it comes from the filth. The same thing goes for holidays. No matter how clean a holiday looks today, if we know that it comes from pagan customs, then we shouldn't celebrate it because it's like a contaminated candy. That was the justification that they used. Even the Caleb and Sophia cartoons used a similar illustration, except instead of gutter candy, they used gifts covered in mud. Well, boys and girls, Stephen Lett just admitted that that illustration is actually pretty stupid. Because it turns out, Jehovah doesn't actually care about the origin of these customs as long as they're not viewed negatively today. And this is huge because the governing body no longer has any excuse, any justification to ban birthdays. Because by their own logic, since birthdays have lost all religious connotation and they're viewed positively today, then there should be no reason why a Jehovah's Witness should not be able to celebrate it, right? It should be left to each individual person to decide.
At the same time, as mature Christians, we respect the right that others have to make their own decisions based on their Bible-trained conscience.
Now, if you watched my video on my predictions for the religion, which I released like a year ago, I predicted that the governing body might allow birthdays in the future, which, to be fair, at that time was kind of a stretch, but actually now it seems totally possible. Now, right now, any Jehovah's Witness could apply these Bible principles that Stephen Lett just shared with us and conclude that celebrating their birthday is totally okay. And I think they could do it with a completely clean conscience. But we know how this religion operates, and we know that Jehovah's Witnesses are not going to start celebrating birthdays out of their conscience. Instead, they're going to wait for the governing body to allow them to do it if that ever becomes a real thing. Just like they had to wait for the governing body's permission to grow a beard. But let's be real, if they do decide to lift the ban on birthdays soon, I feel that's actually going to offend a lot of Jehovah's Witnesses. Especially the old-timers. Because clinking glasses, yeah, it was part of the Jehovah's Witness culture not to do it, but compared to birthdays, it's a very insignificant thing. Not celebrating birthdays has been part of the Jehovah's Witness identity for decades now. Watchtower has released dozens of articles over the years justifying their ban on birthdays. Hell, they even released that Caleb and Sophia cartoon a few years ago where Caleb is all depressed because he almost ate a birthday cupcake. So how would they even scrub this off the memory of Jehovah's Witnesses? It's gonna require some 1984 levels of article deletion and gaslighting, but who knows? Who knows? Your guess is as good as mine. Do you think it's possible the Watchtower allows birthdays to be celebrated soon? Let me know in the comments below.
Are we not grateful?
You know, I think this update has opened Pandora's box and they're not gonna be able to close it back because most Jehovah's Witnesses will gladly accept the changes and they're gonna be happy that they can clink glasses now, and they're gonna be eagerly awaiting anything that comes out of Stephen Lett's mouth. But hopefully these changes will get some believers that already had doubts to start seeing through the cracks in this religion, because it just shows you how man-made all of this is. It's just so obvious. JWs are already making memes out of all of this, saying how they're gonna be clinking glasses to their heart's content. And just take a look at this post. Of course, the comments in this post have been limited because we wouldn't want anyone pointing out the inconsistencies in the religion, right? But here are some of the comments that were allowed to remain. And get this, not all of them were positive. This lady says, "I don't drink any alcohol myself, but I will continue not to toast and just remain focused on serving Jehovah and leave customs alone." Seems someone hasn't seen the update yet. This other commenter says, "I have never really understood the dogmatic approach to this. I sometimes just want to toast my cup of coffee as a way to just be happy and share that joy with someone else who feels the same happiness in the moment, but I appreciate this new insight and will not feel guilty if I occasionally lift a heart of coffee." Yeah, feeling religious guilt over lifting a cup. This is life as a Jehovah's Witness. And it did lead to a lot of awkward moments with outsiders and non-believing family members when you had to explain why you weren't allowed to toast, and they would just look at you like you were a complete idiot and you were completely brainwashed, which, okay, the last part was completely true. Have you watched the 2025 governing body update number 4? And then it's a bunch of comments with champagne emojis. Yes, it was wonderful. It's good to see the organizations making all these adjustments. Yeah, adjustments, more like complete reversals. We are not boring after all. Cheers. Mind you, these comments would have been seen as heretical just a few days ago. How me and the squad will be at the theocratic function. We're toasting the governing body update. Jesus. How Jehovah's celestial chariot be moving during updates. Yeah, that shit is moving in circles, that's what. And here's the cherry on top. An AI generated image made by someone in Brazil saying, "Soon we'll be cheering for eternal life in paradise." Brazilian JWs are something else, man. Caralho. Half of the comments were just people saying, "Yay, hooray, we can toast now." And the other half were people saying, "Jehovah's Witnesses don't toast because it's pagan." And look at this anonymous comment shared in a JW meme page, left by a person that's studying with Jehovah's Witnesses, a potential convert. "It's frustrating. Updates feel disorganized, lacking in details. We see brothers on stage with long hair past their ears, brothers with full shaggy beards, reading reports of sisters wearing capris and relaxed pants like sweats. Hard to accept changes that goes against everything I've ever been taught on JW rules." I shared my feelings openly with sister that's studying with me, and she said to me that I must have problems with the organization and she can't help me. She said my view is borderline apostate and I need to talk to 2 elders for further help. She left me crushed and heartbroken when I went to her for help and clarity. Wow. So this Bible student pointed out some of the inconsistencies in this religion, how much it has changed during the past 2 years, and her Bible teacher just cast her off as a borderline apostate, because critical thinking is not allowed in this religion. Jehovah's Witnesses have to wait for permission from the governing body to do anything. You had to wait for permission to grow a beard. You had to wait for permission to wear pants to the meetings, to say hello to your disfellowshipped family member. You had to wait for permission to clink your glass in a toast. This is not a healthy way to live. I mean, these changes must cause some cognitive dissonance in some JWs, especially those that had to humiliate themselves by explaining this silly prohibition to family and friends. And the reaction of ex-JWs was equally hilarious. Here, let me share some of my favorites. They continue to fanny around with this sort of thing, and beards and lady trousers and tick box ministry, while people are dying for want of a bit of blood, or taking their own lives because they are disfellowshipped. You don't fool me, you pharisaical bastards. Yeah, he's totally right. Can we ban toasting again and unban blood transfusions instead? Please and thank you. Score Historical says, I wonder if the bless you after sneezing is going to be a thing. Oh yeah, that's another fucking prohibition I forgot about. That should be okay now as well, right? Kangaroo Big 644 says, Tony Morris has re-entered the chat. Yeah, Uncle Tony manifests himself wherever 2 glasses of alcohol are clinked, especially if it's top shelf whiskey. Fader Underground says, if they let it, this has big implications for JWs. Most people don't think about evil spirits when they blow out birthday candles either. Most people don't think about anything other than pretty lights and decorations in Christmas. The implication is that people shouldn't be making rules about this stuff, and it should be left up to each person to decide. This will be hard for them to get around though, because people are judgy. And all that holier than thou judgment isn't just going to go away, because Stephen Letts said some things should be personal decisions. That is a great point, because after the governing body allowed beards for men and trousers for women, you still hear comments of people judging, saying, oh, that beard is too long or too shaggy, or those trousers are too tight, so the judgment is not gonna end. It's just hardwired into their religion. Turbulent Corgi says, fucking unbelievable. 6 decades of being forced to explain to well-meaning colleagues and relatives that we don't do that because, and looking like an idiot in the process, only for this to be changed too. Makes you think everything was just made up since day one, innit? Buffoons. Major announcement regarding toasting. Jesus, this religion is so lame. For real. We're living in the final part of the last days, shortly before the last day of the last days, and this is the urgent message that Big J wants us to hear. It's like they're trying to get people to realize they're in a high control group. Hey, remember that thing you've been told your whole life is wrong? It's actually okay. And the question that's still on my mind is, why? What the hell are they trying to accomplish with these changes? Has the governing body sincerely changed their mind and realized they were being too strict with their own followers? Or are they preparing JWs for some future changes, possibly in this year's annual meeting? What are they going to allow next? Birthdays, tattoos, blood transfusions, long hair on men? Who the hell knows? Your guess is as good as mine. So please let me know in the comments below your own predictions for the Watchtower, and if you think they're gonna make any changes soon. And if you have believing family or friends, please let us know. How are they reacting to the changes?
Brothers and sisters, please know that we love you all very much. From the world headquarters of Jehovah's Witnesses, this is...
Okay, Steven, we heard enough. So guys, governing body update number 4. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below, and let me know the moment you lost the cringe challenge, because I love reading your comments. If you would like to support my work, please head on over to Patreon or become a channel member. It's only $1 a month, and you gain early access to all my videos. As always, thank you so much. Take it easy guys, have a wonderful day, and stay away from the tower.
Bah. Goodbye, little sheep.